Welcome to how to properly set up a responsive branding file for Taleo Enterprise. So today we're going to be looking at a branding file, what the structure is, how to start manipulating it and editing the code, and then how to properly get it ready to set up and package into a zip file to then upload in your career site branding area to then apply to a career section. So today we're going to focus on like the elements of the actual branding file, and we are going to focus on how to properly package it up. So I've got a folder here open. This is what you will find if you download the zip file. They're all going to be in a zip file. And when you extract that, you're going to find two things. You're going to find an index.html. This is going to replace your home page, and I'll edit that here in a second. And then you're going to see your theme folder. It's very important that you have these elements at the root of your zip file. You don't want to have a folder underneath. When you open the zip file, this is what it should look like. And then I'll show you how to package that properly up after we're done looking at all these different elements. So first, let's take a look at the index.html. I'm going to open it up here in Notepad++. And there's a couple of important pieces that make this a little bit different from the old non-responsive branding file. And then there's a couple of pieces that are really important to know as to where things go. So first things first, we are referencing two style sheets that we'll look at. They're located under theme CSS style.css and theme CSS extension.css. So one thing to keep in mind is that this order is actually important. When browsers load your branding file, they're going to load that in this order, meaning that first your style.css is going to be applied to the page, and then extension.css is going to be applied to the page. So if there's a rule that you define in style.css, but then there is another rule that overwrites that in extension.css, the latter one is going to be the one that applies. So keep that in mind. Oftentimes one of the things you might want to do is knowing that you have style.css and extension.css. If you add a new rule and you want it to supersede everything else, you're probably going to want to add it at the end of extension.css. The other things that are important here is that we have this viewport set up. So, width is the device width, the initial scale is 1.0, and user scalable is no. This is what actually condenses the entire screen of the web page into the mobile view. So it makes it so that it exactly fits the mobile browser that you're in. So this is a really important line to make sure you keep in your branding file. Then if you know anything about HTML, we've got some tags here. What you need to know is that we write our content in the body, and then we really just have a very simple setup here. We have a container called, it's a div, and it's called main_holder. And here we have a token here, insert content. This is where Taleo is going to insert the actual career section content that it's generating for each page. So think of everything else above that content and below that content as sort of a wrapper around the content that you're going to be displaying. So if I want something to display below the main holder, I can create another div here. And then I can close it like so. And then I could put a footer here if I wanted to. If I want to put something above, I could put this up here, and then this could be my header. Now, of course, you're going to want to put elements in here. You might want to have a div, you might want to have a menu, or you might want to have some specific things. But just keep in mind that this is a wrapper around the actual content of what Taleo is going to generate. I'm going to delete these items for now. So let's go take a look at what else is in this theme folder. So if we navigate down into theme, we already talked about the CSS files. So if we look at extension and style, we can open these up a little bit. Also, Notepad++ is really nice to look at this stuff because it has the contextual highlighting. So, I know, this is a comment because it's in green. So keep that in mind when you're editing these things. And remember that we're applying style and then extension.css. So you may have a bunch of stuff here at the bottom that you're creating. So one thing to look at is if I wanted to apply something to the main holder, let's see if that is referenced somewhere in here. Here we go. So here we know that the main holder container, which contains the content for Taleo, has a max width of 1,000 pixels and a padding of 10 pixels. So if you wanted to make this smaller, make the page a little bit narrower of the Taleo content, or you want to make this bigger, this is where you would go to edit that style. So moving back out to the theme folder, your images, this is where you're going to reference images. So you can embed them directly in here, or you can reference them in your CSS as well. What you probably don't want to worry about is .js, because we have JavaScript, and that'll be in a later video when we talk about the extension. So in the Taleo Enterprise product, we separate JavaScript from the normal branding file, and we actually create a branding file extension. We'll talk about that in a later video, but you don't want to put the JavaScript in this folder. This is really just there for reference. So how do we package this up to make it into a zip file that allows you to upload this in the zone? What I've seen a lot of people do, and this is a lot of the troubleshooting steps that we end up, is they go out here and they look at this responsive demo and they just right click on this. And I really like 7-zip as a ability to do this. But you can also do send to and compress zip folder. But you don't want to select this folder. This will actually create, and we can try this here. So send to compress zip file, and here it's creating the zip file as well. If I then open this up, there's a folder within it. We don't want that. So that's the incorrect way of packaging that up. So what you want to do is you want to go inside this folder where you have the index.html and you have the theme file, or the theme folder rather, and you want to select those items and then send to compressed zip file folder. Now it's going to put that here below. You probably want to give it a little bit of a different name, but then when I go into this responsive zip file, you'll see index.html and theme are right there when I open that file. That's the correct way to package the branding file up to get it ready to be uploaded to your career section. So I hope this helps. We'll do another video about how to package up a extension.